Hey, it's Jared with State of Tech. Today we're going to take a look at the iPad Pro M1 and the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra. I think I got all of that right. These two tablets couldn't be more different, and both couldn't be more awesome in different ways, and I'm going to try my best to explain all of those. Now, normally when I do comparisons, I talk about the similarities and the differences, and then I give my opinion, and that's going to be a little bit tricky to do here because there's so many things that are different. I can't list off specs and talk about how the processors are similar or different or whatnot. That is not really going to be useful. So we're going to talk about my experiences having had both of these devices. Now, of course, with the iPad Pro, this is the M1, the 12.9 inch. I've had this for, I guess, over a year or so. Whenever it came out, I purchased it, and I use this iPad Pro all the time. Now, for the longest time now, have kind of written off Android tablets because Android tablets have lacked in so many different ways for the longest time. And so when the S8 Ultra came out and, you know, they went with the same kind of three sets of devices or three devices like they do with the phones, I thought, okay, like what's going to be different about this? And I'm always paying attention, even though Android tablets haven't been that exciting for a while. There have been some exciting Samsung Galaxy Tabs in the past. And so with this S8 Ultra being massive and having dual cameras and all this different stuff, I thought, hey, let's give it a try. And I'll say it is a pretty fantastic experience. So I'm going to be talking in this video about the comparisons between the two to help you maybe make a decision as to which one you might purchase. But if you want more of a full review, I do have a full review of the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra. So I've talked more about that device specifically. And so if you want to know more specifics on the device, definitely check out that video. I've got it linked below and in the card above. So let's start talking about the Samsung first, because the iPad has been around for a while and it's not going to be too hard for me to make an argument for the iPad. So I have the keyboard case on this here, and so it pops out. It also has a kickstand on the back, and so this kickstand pops out so that you can adjust and tilt it up, and then the keyboard lays down just like so. And there we go. And it's a nice device. Like, the keyboard is really good. The display obviously is really good. Let's get this thing unlocked. There we go. And I just ran a software update on it, so it has the latest software update. Now, right now, the device is running in tablet mode. Even though it's connected to the keyboard, it's running in tablet mode, so it looks like typical Android tablet OS here. We've got our apps. We've got our display. I can, of course, put widgets. We've got two widgets here, and I could put apps, and then if we can have multiple screens full of apps and all that good stuff as well. Now, what's unique about the Tab here is that it goes into DeX Mode. Now, DeX Mode is something that Samsung has had on their devices for a while, and it allows you to utilize your Samsung device or your Android device more in a computer-like environment. So think about if you were to plug your smartphone into a screen, a computer screen or something like that. It would just maybe show you the screen of your smartphone. Well, Samsung has made it possible with DeX to turn that experience into something you would expect more on a laptop or a desktop computer. And smartphones have it, the Samsung Android smartphones have it, and also this tablet has it. So I can go into DeX mode just by hitting function and the DeX key, and it's going to open up DeX. And of course I can get to DeX from menus as well. Pardon my camera not focusing. And now we are more in a view that looks like a laptop. I mean, it kind of resembles a Chromebook, but also kind of looks like Microsoft at the same time, or like Windows. And so let me walk you through this really quickly. We've got our apps drawer over here, so we can access all of our apps. We can multitask here. We've got the home button, and we've got the back button. Now we've got some quick action shortcut items over here, like keyboard, taking a screenshot, Wi-Fi, battery life, all that good stuff. Now what's really cool about this, and of course this is something you can do on Android, is like split screen apps, but the way that this works is even better. Like on tablets, whether you're on an iPad or on an Android tablet and you're utilizing split screen, it's like apps side by side and maybe one little overlay one that doesn't really work out too well. Now when you're in DeX mode, you can have a lot of stuff going on. So I've got a browser opened up. We'll go ahead and open up the State of Tech website. So we've got a browser opened up. I'll go ahead now and open up, let's say the calculator. Calculator opens up right in the middle, and I can click and drag that around. I can pin it to the top so that it stays on top and does not move. I can minimize it, I can maximize it, I can close it, or I can click and drag it over to the side, and notice how it's going to snap, and now I can select and have side by side. So I've got calculator and browser, and I can resize those like so. And I can even put another app right in there as well. But it's not just side-by-side apps. Let's go large again here. And then we'll bring up something like Adobe Lightroom. Adobe Lightroom can open up over here, and which is where I had it last. So also, just to show you more snapping, sliding up towards the top, we can go full screen. I could slide over to the right, and then of course I could just make it small right in the center and resize this window and have it just a small centered app. And so overlaying works out really well, and you can overlay multiple. I've had like 5-6 apps up on the screen all at once, and it just chugs right through it. It does not care. It has the horsepower it needs in order to do that. So in DeX mode, obviously like things using the trackpad, using the keyboard is really nice. Keyboard shortcuts, all that stuff is great. I build a lot of websites for clients. It's part of one of my businesses. And opening and editing websites on this DeX mode on the Samsung Galaxy Tab, it seems to be much better. It seems to be more like an actual laptop, whereas when I would try to do that on the iPad, some kind of JavaScript drag and drop things just don't work very well, and sometimes they don't even work at all on the iPad, but they work perfectly on this device. So the Galaxy Tab, I mean, just really cool. Now there's also an S Pen that the Galaxy Tab has. So on the back of the device here, it flips out like so. Let me try to get that in focus. And we've got access to the S Pen right here, and it magnetically attaches to the back of the device and also charges that way as well. It takes a little bit of getting used to just to figure out exactly where it snaps in just perfectly. You can also just put it right in the back here in this little holster, and then just close it, and it's going to snap right into place as well. And so that's a nice way of stowing your S Pen. On the iPad, it's always kind of, unless you have a special case that makes it easy to stow it, the Apple Pencil is always out there ready to get lost. And I haven't lost mine for good, but I have lost it a couple of times and then gone back and found it, thankfully, because the thing falls off. It ends up in the bottom of my bag. It's never where I need it to be unless I have a case that holds it really well. So the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra, a fantastic device. My wife and I have watched shows and movies on this. The sound is really good. The screen is really nice. I would say my one gripe is that maybe the kickstand could be a little bit bigger, because when I do, prop this up on something, like say, we're watching TV in bed on this, propping this kickstand up, it just doesn't stick out far enough for a softer surface, and it just wants to topple over. But if you leave the keyboard on it, it's not a problem. Obviously, the iPad would have the same issues depending on the case that you put on it as well. So I would say, like, if I had to rate this device on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say that as far as Android tablets go, it's a 10. As far as tablet experiences go, I would give it about an 8. There are little quirks and things that I found at times, like an app quitting on me in the middle for no reason, just in the middle of nowhere. I'm utilizing an app and it just quits, but that's something that kind of happens to me often on Android devices anyways. I might have a couple of apps open, I'm switching back and forth, and it just doesn't like me going back and forth too many times from one app to the other. But for browsing the internet, email, for utilizing most of what you would utilize a laptop for. If you are an average user, this device is going to be more than you need, and it's also just going to be a fantastic experience because the display is beautiful and the rest of the device is just a joy to use. So let's move over and talk about the iPad Pro. Of course, the iPad Pro, I have the Apple Magic Keyboard case, or whatever you want to call it, on here, and so opens up and feels more stable, I would say, than the Galaxy Tab. And what I mean by that is that as it's sitting here, this feels more sturdy. And I think it's because the case is all built together, whereas with the Tab here, the keyboard does pop off, so I could take the keyboard off like so, and the keyboard is separate and the kickstand stays on the back. Now, I do like that because now I don't have to have the keyboard on the device all the time. I can utilize the kickstand and I don't have to have the keyboard attached. Whereas on the iPad Pro, keyboard has to be attached because it's part of the case. I would have to go with a different case to get around that. So one thing that I do really like about the iPad is the stability. And I said stability as far as the case, but I mean stability as far as the operating system. iPad is going to work, and it's going to work well, and the apps are going to load. They're going to work fast. Everything is going to be a great experience on this device. This device with the M1 processor in it is way overpowered. I did run some Geekbench test scores and stuff like that to compare these two to see, like, oh, how close are they as far as processor performance. The iPad blows the Samsung Tab S8 Ultra out of the water. Like, the numbers aren't even funny to look at. They're so far, like, the Tab is so far behind, which is not typical of Samsung Android devices that are usually perform really well, even in those test bench scores. But the Tab S8 doesn't come close to the iPad Pro. So the iPad Pro, it has bigger bezels on the display. That's something that I notice immediately every time I go, is there's a lot of black around the edges here. This iPad Pro has the LTE option, or the 5G option, so that I can connect utilizing a cellular plan. They have that option for the Tab S8 Ultra as well. Both of these devices support Wi-Fi 6, and you know, all the modern specs are there for both of these devices. With the iPad, I would say the stability of the operating system and the apps are what makes the iPad my choice as far as the tablet goes. There have been instances where little things have been weird, as I mentioned before, on the Tab. There's some user interface tweaks that I think they can make. Sometimes when I have to enter in my passcode, there's a nice, good size number pads for me to tap in my passcode. And other times they're super small and really hard unless you're like, you have it on the table and you can just really make, get your finger right in the right spot. So it like changes sizes, which is weird. I thought that was fixed in a software update, but it still does it. And there's just little quirks like that. I would say the cameras on the Galaxy are probably a little bit better than the cameras that are on the iPad. The front-facing camera on the Galaxy Tab is really nice. It's great for video calls and stuff like that. Even the angle is not too bad because it's in the top center where it should be, whereas the iPad is over on the side like they've been doing forever. Now, the iPad has center stage, which is a feature that uses AI to follow you and make sure that you stay centered. So even if I move over in the frame or move around, the camera angle kind of moves with me, which is a cool feature, but it definitely could utilize a higher quality camera. And if the camera was mounted in the center of the iPad like it should be, because I feel like iPad, or when they think about an iPad and people using the front-facing camera, they must be thinking about how people used the very first iPad. They're holding it up in portrait mode the long ways, and they're using FaceTime and stuff like that. I don't think that many, I mean, that's my opinion, I'm probably wrong. I don't think that many people are using their iPad in that orientation these days. They're using it with a keyboard, they're holding it in landscape mode so that they can see more content or a wider content, bigger images, stuff like that. I really wish that iPad had its camera mounted. So if you're going to do a lot of video calls for work and stuff like that, the Galaxy Tab may be a better option for you because the camera quality is better, and of course the camera angle is better as well. So let me give some of my final thoughts. Obviously, I think that the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra is the best Android tablet on the market. It checks so many boxes and does so much, and this is a large screen. This is a lot larger. If I hold these together, you can see just how much larger the Galaxy Tab is than the iPad as far as size goes. So the Ultra might not necessarily be the right option for you if you're looking for something smaller. There is the S8, I believe the S8 Plus, and then the S8 Ultra. And so there are 3 different sizes, and I know that you can get the keyboard case and everything for the Plus, which is a little bit smaller than this tablet. So there's options for all of you. I would say that if I was not on the Apple ecosystem, having an iPhone, having Mac computers, and of course having iPads, I would probably go with the Galaxy Tab, because the Galaxy Tab gives me the flexibility to do all the work that I want to do, having multiple windows up, feeling more like a laptop than a tablet when I need it to be, and then feeling more like a tablet because I could switch it out of that DeX mode and back into regular Android, and it can feel like a tablet again. And I think that is what makes this really unique. There are little quirks that would slow my workflow down. For example, when I am loading pictures on the tablet from an SD card, I have to copy them to the tablet first before I can import them into Lightroom, which is kind of a pain. Whereas the iPad Pro recognizes there's an SD card connected, and within Lightroom I can import the photos without having to copy them to the device first. So there are some little quirks there that might slow me down, but I do believe that the overall experience on the Samsung device is probably better for people who need to utilize their device more like a laptop. Whereas if you're wanting the best that Apple has to offer in the form of a tablet, I think the iPad Pro M1 is a great option. iPad OS is just gotten better and better. It's not like Mac OS yet, but it's getting closer. If you are on the Apple ecosystem, it probably makes sense to get an iPad, especially now that you can easily use a keyboard and mouse on your Mac and have that connected to your iPad and copy things. I mean, there's so many things that are making having all of your devices be Apple devices be just more and more convenient. So if you're not an Apple user, I would really recommend that you take a look at the S8 Ultra. I think the S8 Ultra is a fantastic tablet. Otherwise, iPad, because iPad is Apple and Apple works well together. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope that you found it a little bit informative, and that my take on how I utilize these devices and my experiences with them helps you make a decision. If you have any questions, definitely ask down in the comment section below. I've got links to these devices in the description. If you purchase using those links, it's free to you. It's an affiliate link. It helps support the channel here, keeps my lights on and all that good stuff. But that's going to do it for today. Thanks a lot, and I hope to see you back in another one soon. Take care.